Day 25, celebrating his birth. I heard the bells on Christmas Day their old familiar carols play, and wild and sweet the world's repeat of peace on earth, goodwill to men. I heard the bells on Christmas Day. Growing up in America, when I would hear the words, I heard the bells on Christmas Day, I automatically thought of December 25th. Then my family moved to the former USSR in 2000. Within months, we encountered the fact that people there didn't celebrate Christmas on December 25th, but on January 7th. At first, I thought this was due to the influence of the atheist regime in the USSR. I reasoned it was probably advantageous for this regime to move Christmas until after the New Year's holiday in order to de-emphasize it. Then I found out that the people in the former USSR celebrated the New Year a second time on January 14th, calling it Old New Year. So I began digging and discovered that the difference in dates was due to the use of two different calendars. In the West, the church began celebrating Christmas on December 25th, earlier than in the East. However, by the 6th century, the church both in the East and the West were celebrating Christmas on December 25th. At first, Christians in both the East and West calculated the date of Christmas using the Julian calendar. This calendar was instituted in 45 BC by a royal decree from Julius Caesar. Then, in 1582, Pope Gregory XIII introduced another calendar, later known as the Gregorian calendar. After the introduction of this calendar, the Catholic Church began using it for the dates of church holidays. Later, when the Protestant groups appeared, they did the same. Many Orthodox churches in the East kept using the old Julian calendar. Today, the two calendars differ by 13 days. So, January 7th on the Gregorian calendar is actually December 25th by the Julian calendar, and January 1st on the Julian calendar is January 14th, Old New Year in the former USSR, for the Gregorian. Since evangelical churches in Belarus and Ukraine have functioned in Orthodox context from their inception, they celebrated Christmas on January 7th. After a few years of living in Belarus, we began to hear discussions and debates among evangelical church leaders as to when they should celebrate Christmas. Some realized most Christians worldwide, both Catholic and Protestant, celebrated Christmas on December 25th. So they argued that Belarusian evangelicals should join them. Others, usually more traditional-minded brothers, held that this would be a mistake. It would confuse Belarusians who were used to celebrating Christmas on January 7th. Plus, deviating from the norm set by the Orthodox Church would confirm evangelicals were an abnormal sect and thus hindering Christmas evangelistic efforts. Those wanting to switch to the 25th countered that due to the growing access to Western TV shows and films, more and more younger Belarusians were becoming aware the Orthodox date wasn't the worldwide standard. At one meeting where this issue was being debated, the discussion went on for a long time. Then one older wise brother stood up and said, "I don't understand. Aren't you all Belarusians? We, Belarusians, love to celebrate. So why should we choose one date or the other? Let's just celebrate Christmas twice, once on the 25th as an internal church holiday, and once on the 7th for evangelism and outreach." In time, this opinion became the typical approach of most evangelical groups in Belarus. They realized the important thing wasn't the debate of Christmas, but the celebration of Jesus' birth. Now, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea on the day of Herod the king, behold, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem, saying, "Where is he who was born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star when it rose and have come to worship him." Matthew 2, 1 and 2. The wise men are often included in nativity scenes and Christmas plays along with the shepherds. However, this text makes it clear that they didn't arrive the day Jesus was born, and so didn't join the shepherds in worshiping around the manger. By the time they arrived, Mary, Joseph, and Jesus had already found more permanent lodgings in a house. Verse 11. And Jesus is referred to as a child, not as a newborn, verses 9 and 11. Additionally, when the wise men didn't return to tell Herod where to find Jesus, he sent soldiers to kill all the boys in and around Bethlehem who were 2 years old and under, based on the wise men report of the star first appearance, verse 16. So some time had passed since Jesus' birth, maybe as much as 2 years. This didn't matter to the wise men. They were convinced of the fact that Jesus' birth and wanted to find him and worship him. Searching for him, they headed to Jerusalem. This was very logical, since Jerusalem was the religious center of Judaism, the historical capital of the Jews, the seat of the Roman province of Judea, where almost the entire population was made up of Jews. Evidently, they expected anyone in Jerusalem to know where to find the newborn king. It was probably surprising for them that it took an official meeting with Herod to get an answer to their question. Once they had the answer, they set out, and the star reappeared and guided them until it came to rest over the place where the child was. Verse 9. Realizing they had found the place where the king was, filled them with indescribable joy. Verse 10. Entering the house, they saw the child with Mary his mother, and they fell down and worshipped him. Verse 11. Their long search had ended. They'd found the king. Months, maybe even years, had passed since his birth. For a large part of that time, they'd been traveling to Judea. Now they'd found him and given him the worship he was due. So really, the wise men had been celebrating Jesus' birth for a long time. This celebration just climaxed in Bethlehem. Experiencing Christmases in Belarus and Ukraine over the past 20 years has made me reflect on the way I have approached it my whole life. I've come to realize that all my life I really haven't celebrated Christ's birth on December 25th. I've celebrated it over an extended period of time, stretching from late November to late December. I think maybe the wise men would have approved of this, for the fact of his birth was important enough for them to spend months, possibly years, traveling to find him and to give him the worship he was due. Jesus truly is worthy of our worship and praise, for he isn't just the King of the Jews, but the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Revelations 19:16. So we should join the wise men in rejoicing over the fact of his birth and worshiping him as our King. This year, my wife and I will be trying to do just that as we celebrate Christmas from late November to mid-January, combining some American elements and some Belarusian and Ukrainian elements. In the spirit that Belarusian brother expressed so many years ago, why not? We love to celebrate Christmas, and Jesus is definitely worth it.